Let me tell you about Segun. Smooth-talking Segun. Campus heartthrob with the kind of confidence that made girls forget their own names. Voice like honey, words like poetry, the kind of man who could sell ice to an Eskimo. But by the time I finish this story, you will see this same proud man sitting in an auditorium, weeping, watching the stammering girl he mocked become the voice the whole nation couldn't stop listening to. And that girl, she won't even look his way. But wait, let me start from the beginning, from the day everything began. University of Lagos, 2015. Funke was 20 years old, studying English literature, carrying the weight of words she couldn't say. Her stammer was severe, not the cute kind you see in movies, the real kind that made simple introductions feel like climbing Mount Everest. "My N name is Funk," she would say, and watch people's faces change. First confusion, then pity. Then that uncomfortable look that said, "Oh, this is awkward." So Funke stopped talking. In lectures, she never raised her hand even when she knew the answer. In group discussions, she stayed silent. At parties, she disappeared into corners. But there was one place where her voice was perfect, where words flowed like a river without stones. On paper. Her essays were brilliant. Her stories were beautiful. Her written analysis made professors cry. She expressed more in one paragraph than most people did in entire speeches. That's where Segun found her. In the library, alone at 2 a.m., writing in her journal. He'd come to finish an assignment he'd procrastinated on, and there she was, completely absorbed in her writing, her pen moving like it was dancing. He looked over her shoulder, couldn't help it. The words were magnetic. A story about a girl with a voice trapped inside her chest, screaming to get out but stuck behind teeth that wouldn't cooperate. That's beautiful," he said. Funke jumped, closed her journal quickly, her face burning with embarrassment. "Sorry, I'll leave." "No, wait." Segun sat down across from her. "I'm Segun. And whatever you were writing just now, that was some of the most powerful stuff I've ever read." Funke looked at him like he was speaking another language. "Segun, the Segun, campus big boy, talking to her. You read my writing? Just a glimpse, but I want to read more. Will you let me?" And just like that, something shifted. Segun became the first person who looked at Funke and saw beyond the stammer, who listened to what she was trying to say, not how she was saying it, who read her writing and saw her true voice. They started meeting in the library every week. She would write, he would read. He would talk about her words like they were treasures, analyzing them, asking questions about her characters, her metaphors, her meanings. "You know what's crazy?" he told her one night. "You express yourself better on paper than most people do with their mouths. Your written voice is a symphony." Funke fell in love. Not slowly, not carefully, completely. Because Segun made her feel seen for the first time in her life. And then he asked her out. If you're connecting with Funke's journey already, subscribe so you don't miss how this story unfolds. Trust me, you need to see where this goes. For 6 months, they were perfect. On campus, they were the odd couple everyone talked about, smooth-talking Segun and stammering Funke. But somehow, it worked, because Segun wasn't ashamed. Not then. "This is Funke," he'd tell his friends, his arm around her proudly. "She's a brilliant writer. You should read her stuff." When Funke struggled to order food at restaurants, Segun would wait patiently, never finishing her sentences, never rushing her. When waiters looked impatient, he'd stare them down until they backed off. "Take your time, baby," he'd say, squeezing her hand. Funke wrote him love letters that made him cry. Long, beautiful letters about how he'd given her a voice by listening to her silence, how he'd seen her when everyone else looked away, how he was her safe place. "I've never felt this way," Segun told her, tears running down his face as he read her latest letter. "Nobody's ever expressed love like this. You're amazing." They would sit in his car for hours after dates, Segun reading her journal entries out loud, while Funke listened to her own words in his smooth voice. It felt like her thoughts were finally being heard. "When I graduate," Segun promised, "when I get that job at the big firm I've been dreaming about, I'm going to marry you. We're going to have a beautiful life together." Funke believed him. Why wouldn't she? He'd proven he loved all of her, Stammer included. But then graduation came. Segun got his dream job at Okonkwo and Associates, one of Lagos's most prestigious marketing firms. Big office, big salary, big ambitions. And suddenly, his world expanded beyond campus, beyond the library, beyond the bubble where only Funke's words mattered. His new colleagues were slick, polished, the kind of people who wore confidence like expensive cologne, and they all had equally polished partners, wives and girlfriends who could network, who could charm clients, who could speak without hesitation. The first time Segun brought Funke to an office party, everything changed. "Segun, introduce us to your lovely girlfriend," his colleague Tunde called out. Funke smiled, extended her hand. "Hello, I'm Funke. Nice to meet you." The pause was slight, almost invisible. But Segun saw it. The way Tunde's eyes flickered with surprise. The way his smile became just a bit too polite. The way he said, "Oh, lovely to meet you too," with that tone. That tone that said, "Oh, okay." Later, in the bathroom, Segun overheard Tunde and another colleague. "Your boy's Segun's girl? She's pretty, but can she even complete a sentence? Guy, leave maybe she's amazing in other ways." Laughter. Segun's stomach twisted. He looked at himself in the mirror and felt something he'd never felt before when thinking about Funke. Shame. He pushed it down, ignored it, told himself it didn't matter what they thought. But the seed was planted. And seeds, even poisonous ones, always grow. It started small. Little things. Excuses. When his boss invited him to bring his girlfriend to a company dinner, Segun said, "She's not feeling well." When his colleague suggested a double date, "She's busy with her family." When the office planned a beach trip, "She's got exams coming up." Lie after lie after lie. Not because Funke wasn't available, but because Segun couldn't bear the thought of them hearing her speak, of seeing that look again. That pity, Funke noticed. Of course she noticed. "Segun, why don't I ever meet your work friends anymore?" she asked one evening. "You do, baby. We just did that party, remember? That was months ago. You never invite me to anything now. I'm just busy. Work is crazy. It's not about you." But it was about her. Every time his phone rang with an invitation, Segun's first thought was, "How do I go without Funke?" Every networking event became a calculation. Will I have to introduce her? Will she have to speak? He started seeing other couples at work events. His colleague Femi with his eloquent lawyer wife, Kunle with his TV presenter girlfriend. Everybody partnered with people who could talk, people who could impress, people who could help their careers. And then came the moment that changed everything. The senior partner, Mr. Okonkwo himself, was hosting a major client dinner. Every employee was expected to bring their significant other. "No excuses this time, Segun," Mr. Okonkwo said. "I want to meet this mysterious girlfriend you keep hiding. She must be something special." Segun's blood ran cold. He couldn't refuse. Not the senior partner. Not at a client dinner worth millions. He had to bring Funke, the night of the dinner, Segun picked her up. She'd worn her best dress, done her hair beautifully, practiced her introduction over and over in the mirror. She was nervous but excited. I'm ready to finally meet your boss, she said, smiling. Segun forced a smile back. His stomach was in knots. The dinner was at a 5-star restaurant. Expensive, sophisticated. Every table filled with Lagos elite. Segun walked in with Funke, her hand in his, and immediately felt every eye in the room turn toward them. Mr. Okonkwo approached, warm smile on his face. Segun, finally! And this must be the lovely Funke I've heard about. Funke extended her hand, smiled, opened her mouth. Good evening, Esser. I'm fun. Her stammer was worse than usual because of nerves. She stopped mid-name, took a breath, tried again. Funke, nice to meet you, sir. Mr. Okonkwo's smile didn't falter. Lovely to meet you too, my dear. But Segun saw it. The flicker of surprise, the slight adjustment in his expression, the way his eyes softened with pity. Throughout dinner, Funke barely spoke. When people asked her questions, Segun answered for her. She's studying English literature. She's a writer, actually. Very talented. People nodded politely, made small talk. But Segun could feel their discomfort, could see them struggling to maintain conversation with someone who took so long to form words. By the end of the night, Segun was exhausted. Not from the dinner, from pretending, from covering, from wishing, for the first time in their relationship, that Funke was different. And that's when the terrible thought entered his mind. I can't do this anymore. The breakup happened the next day. Segun had rehearsed it in his head all night. He tried to find the right words, the kind words, but there were no kind words for what he was about to do. They sat in his car outside her house, the same car where they'd spent hours reading her letters. Now it felt like a tomb. Funke, we need to talk. She knew immediately. Women always know. Her face went pale. What's wrong? I've been thinking about us, about our future. He couldn't look at her. I'm in a very competitive field. Image matters. Communication matters. And I need someone who can represent me well. Someone who can network, charm clients, speak at events. Silence. Long, terrible silence. So my stammer defines me now? Her voice was barely a whisper. It's not just the stammer. It's about compatibility. About what I need in a partner at this stage of my career. You said you loved my voice, my written voice. I do. I did. But Funke, in my world, written voice isn't enough. I need someone who can speak fluently, confidently. I'm sorry, but I have to think about my future. What about our future, you promised? I know what I promised. But things change. People grow. We want different things now. Funke started crying. Not loud sobs, quiet tears that rolled down her face like rain. You're ashamed of me. I'm not ashamed. I need something different. You'll understand someday. This is better for both of us. For both of us? Or just for you? Segun didn't answer, couldn't answer, because she was right. This was only for him, his career, his image, his comfort. Funke opened the car door and stepped out into the rain that had started falling. She looked back at him one last time. I wrote you letters A.B. Bout, how you made me feel seen, how you gave me a voice. But you know what? You just took it away. You made me feel smaller than anyone else ever did, because they never pretended to love me first. She walked away. Segun sat in his car, hands gripping the steering wheel, telling himself he'd made the right decision. the smart decision, the career-forward decision. But why did it feel like he'd just thrown away something irreplaceable? He pushed the guilt down, moved on, started dating BC 3 months later. BC was everything Funke wasn't. Eloquent, smooth-talking, confident. A TV presenter with a voice like velvet and words that flowed effortlessly. His colleagues loved her. His boss approved. Office parties became easy again. No more excuses, no more shame. This is what I needed, Segun told himself. Someone who fits my life. But late at night, sometimes he'd think about Funke's letters, about the way she saw him, really saw him, the way she expressed love in words that made his soul ache. BC could talk beautifully, but she said nothing that touched him. Her words were empty, performances, all surface, no depth. But by then, it was too late. Funke was gone, and Segun had chosen his path, or so he thought. The story takes an unexpected turn here. Hit that subscribe button, because what happens next will leave you speechless. What Segun didn't know was that Funke had nearly died. After the breakup, she stopped writing, stopped eating, stopped existing. Depression swallowed her whole. Her younger brother, Tunde, found the suicide note on her desk 3 weeks after the breakup. His hands shook as he read it. I'm tired of being broken, tired of words trapped inside me, tired of being loved until I'm not. Maybe silence is better. Maybe permanent silence is best. Tunde screamed for their mother. They rushed Funke to the hospital. She'd taken pills. Not enough to kill her, but enough to show she'd tried. In the hospital, their mother held Funke's hand and cried, "Please, don't leave me, please fight." But Funke's eyes were empty. She'd given up. The hospital referred them to Dr. Amadi, a therapist who specialized in speech disorders and trauma, a woman who'd spent 20 years helping people find their voices. "Your stammer doesn't define you, doctor," Amadi said in their first session. "But someone made you believe it does. Someone made you think you're less because of how you speak. And now we're going to undo that lie." For 2 years, Funke worked, not just on her speech, on her trauma, on rebuilding herself from the inside out. Speech therapy taught her techniques: breathing, pacing, acceptance. Her stammer didn't disappear, but she learned to work with it instead of fighting against it. But more important was the trauma therapy. Dr. Amadi helped her understand something crucial. Your voice isn't broken, it's unique. And the man who left you didn't leave because of your stammer. He left because he was too small to contain your magnitude. But he was right. I can't represent someone professionally. Represent? You're not a business card, you're a human being. Any man who needs you to represent him doesn't deserve you in the first place. Slowly, painfully, beautifully, Funke healed. She started writing again. But this time, something was different. She wasn't hiding behind her writing anymore. She was using it as a bridge, not a hiding place. She recorded herself reading her stories out loud. At first, it was torture. Hearing her stammer on playback made her want to quit. But Dr. Amadi pushed her. Don't edit it out. Don't smooth it over. Let your voice be exactly what it is. The pauses, the repetitions, they're part of your rhythm. Own them. Funke posted her first audiobook recording online. A short story about a girl with a broken voice who learned it was actually a superpower. She narrated it herself, stammer and all. She expected ridicule, expected mockery. Instead, the comments poured in. Your voice is so authentic, so real. I've never heard anyone narrate like this. It's beautiful. My daughter has a stammer. She listened to this and cried. Thank you for showing her she's not alone. The audiobook went viral. 100,000 downloads in the first month. then 1,000,000. Publishers started calling, "We want you to narrate your own books. Your voice is your brand." Funke couldn't believe it. The very thing Segun had been ashamed of was now the thing people loved most about her. She wrote more, narrated more, and slowly she became famous, not despite her stammer, because of it. This is where everything comes full circle. Stay with me, you're going to want to see Segun's face when reality hits him. 5 years later, Okonkwo and Associates was hosting their annual leadership conference. They'd booked a motivational speaker everyone was talking about, Funke Adeyemi, best-selling author and voice coach. Topic: finding your authentic voice. Segun saw the name on the conference brochure and froze. His coffee cup slipped from his hand, shattering on the floor. Funke Adeyemi? It couldn't be. His Funke? Impossible. She could barely speak 5 years ago. Now she was a keynote speaker? He Googled her frantically. And there she was. Professional photos, TED Talk, books, audiobooks, articles calling her the voice of a generation. Conference day arrived. The auditorium was packed. 2,000 people, every employee, every client, every partner. Mr. Okonkwo himself was in the front row. Segun sat in the back, his heart pounding. His wife Bisi was at home. Their marriage was empty. She talked constantly but said nothing. No depth, no soul. Just pretty words strung together. The lights dimmed, music played, and Funke walked onto that stage. Segun's breath caught. She was transformed. Not just physically, though she looked incredible. It was her energy, her presence. She radiated power. She stepped to the microphone. The room fell silent. "The thank you for having me," she began, and Segun heard it. The slight stammer, still there, but controlled, deliberate, musical almost. 5 years ago, someone I loved told me my voice wasn't good enough, that I couldn't represent him, that my stammer made me less than. The audience leaned forward, hooked, and for a while I believed him. I believed that my voice was broken, that I was broken. I almost killed myself over it. Gasps rippled through the crowd. But then I learned something. My voice isn't broken, it's mine. The pauses aren't mistakes, they're beats, they're rhythm, they're the spaces where meaning lives. She spoke for 45 minutes about authenticity, about rejecting other people's definitions of perfect, about using your differences as your signature. The audience was mesmerized. Every pause, every stammer, every carefully chosen word landed like poetry. Standing ovation. 2,000 people on their feet, cheering, crying, transformed. Segun sat in his seat, unable to move, tears streaming down his face. This was Funke, his Funke, the girl he'd thrown away because she couldn't speak properly. And now she was the voice everyone wanted to hear. After the event, he waited by the exit. His hands shook as she approached with her team. "Funke, you were incredible. I was so wrong about everything, about you. She looked at him, really looked at him. Her eyes were peaceful. No anger, no pain, just peace. "Segun, thank you." "Thank you? For what? For hurting you? For leaving. You taught me something valuable. You taught me that if someone can't love you at your realest, at your most authentic, then they don't deserve you at your greatest. You leaving made room for people who love all of me." Pauses included. A man approached. Tall, kind eyes, gentle smile. He wrapped his arm around Funke's waist. This is my husband, Dr. Amadi, my therapist's son, a speech pathologist who fell in love with my voice. Every stammer, every pause, all of it. Dr. Amadi smiled at Segun. She's my favorite voice in the world. I could listen to her forever. Funke looked at Segun one last time. I hope you find happiness, Segun. Real happiness. Not the kind that looks good on the outside but feels empty inside. And I hope you learn that loving someone means loving all of them, not just the parts that are convenient for your career. She walked away, her husband's arm around her, her head high, her voice free. Segun stood there alone in the empty hallway and realized what he'd done. He hadn't just left a woman with a stammer. He'd silenced a symphony because he wanted a commercial jingle. He'd rejected a masterpiece because he wanted something that would impress his colleagues. He went home to Bisi. She was on the phone, talking effortlessly about nothing important. Beautiful words, empty words. He thought about Funke's letters, about the way she saw him, loved him, expressed emotions he hadn't even known he felt. And he wept, not for what he'd lost, but for what he'd thrown away, for the magnitude he'd been too small to contain. Years later, when people asked Funke about her ex-boyfriend who'd left her because of her stammer, she would smile, that peaceful smile, and say, he thought my voice was too broken to be heard. But he was wrong. My voice wasn't the problem. His ears were. Some people can only hear perfection. They miss the beauty in authenticity. I'm grateful he left, because he made room for people who could hear my real voice. And it turns out, the whole world was listening. If this story touched you, subscribe for more powerful stories about finding your worth and owning your authentic self. Share this with someone who needs to hear it. Asterisk, asterisk. Your flaw might be your signature. Your difference might be your power. Don't let anyone mute your uniqueness because it makes them uncomfortable. The right people will love your authentic voice. Pauses, stumbles, imperfections, and all. Because real love doesn't demand perfection. It celebrates authenticity. And remember, when someone can't handle you at your most real, they don't deserve you at your most magnificent.